What's up, guys? It's Tim again, as you can tell. Just back with another WWF pay-per-view rebooking video. I just done a couple recent reviews of pay-per-views, my favorite pay-per-views, what I liked about them, pay-per-views I watched a million times and that I think are some of the best of all time. This is another one that I'm going to do rebooking style. I did a couple of the rebooking WrestleManias. And I was looking at the Wrestling Classic bracket, the first WWF pay-per-view, the Wrestling Classic, which was won by JYD. And I was, in hindsight, always being 2020, I moved around some things. I was looking up some historical stuff about it, and I wrote up a bracket that I think is, another good idea. I don't want to say it's a better idea, because the first original one with the Junkyard Dog going over, he beats Randy Savage in the finals, I believe by count out, and then JYD goes on to have a push, even though, a pretty big run in the company, aka push for a little while there, and that whole beginning of the rock and wrestling, era, even though he never got a world title or even any title or had any big, monumental things. This was JYD's big, kind of deal, big moment for the company. But I rebooked it. I want to share some ideas with you. I usually record on my phone, or I record on my iPad and I have my phone on me so I can look through Wikipedia and be looking at the bracket. I don't have that right now, and again, this isn't a rehearsed thing. I just wrote this out yesterday and I figured I'd do a real quick video. I only got a couple of minutes really to hang out to begin with, so I don't have my Wikipedia back up on me, and I don't feel like going and getting it anyway, but I do remember a little bit about what I was writing about, so hopefully we can get through this, as factual as possible and all that other stuff. All right. I'm going to kind of start from the end and go backwards. I'm going to start with the finals and then sort of work my way back. I think that's more, I can explain it a little better, probably. First off, I would have Randy Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage, go over and win the tournament. In hindsight, he takes second place in it in actuality, in our reality. I'm going to say let's have Randy Savage go ahead and go over, because this was in 1987. It was a few months essentially before Randy Savage won the Intercontinental title. I believe this was November of 87. No, well, that wouldn't have made sense. I forget exactly when it was, but Tito Santana is still the Intercontinental Champion here. See, again, this is why Wikipedia is good to have right in front of me. But again, all off the cuff. Randy Savage would go on to win the Intercontinental title a few months after this. So it would sort of make sense, have him win this tournament, and then that's sort of the rocket that boosts him to the moon, you know what I mean? And then again, he'd win the King of the Ring in a couple of years as well. He wins the WrestleMania 4 tournament, and then, so they could have went on a thing about how, Randy Savage always wins the tournaments he's in, or something like that. But this would have just been a nice lead into his Intercontinental title run, which he beats Tito Santana for a few months after this tournament happens. Who does he beat in the finals in my rebooking? Tito Santana. Tito Santana got eliminated pretty early in the tournament. I want to say he won his first round match and then was eliminated in the second round, something like that. Again, I wish I would have at least written the bracket down. But I have Tito Santana, again, in this tournament, is your Intercontinental Champion. The working man's champion at the time. Hogan's your world champ. Tito's got the Intercontinental title at the time. In actuality, he should be the guy that wins the tournament. If he's your second place guy, basically, if Hogan is in this tournament and Tito is, he's the guy, he's the best in the company, right? He should be the guy that wins. Maybe even have Randy Savage go over in the finals and cheat a little bit, or hold the tights, or foot on the ropes, or the brass knuckles in the tights, something like that. But the final should have been Randy Savage versus Tito Santana. Again, Tito Santana is your Intercontinental Champion at the time. Randy Savage beats him in the finals, maybe some kind of schmoz finish, whatever, couple months. Now that's the perfect lead into your program with Randy Savage and Tito Santana. Then they have a couple of matches. Maybe they have a non-title match that Randy wins. Then they have another non-title match that Tito wins by DQ or countout or something. And then their big final blow-off match at these house show loops that they did back in the day is for the Intercontinental title. Randy Savage wins because he cheated to win the title in the first place from Tito. He does the same finish with the smacking of the loaded brass knuckles. Boom, Randy Savage is your Intercontinental champion, and he's off to the races. But that should have been the final. Randy Savage and Tito Santana. Randy Savage, I have beating Dynamite Kid in the semifinals. That actually happens still in real life, so that's not really a rebooking. Randy Savage did beat Dynamite Kid in the semifinals, which is cool. They put Dynamite Kid over in actuality to make it to the semifinals because he's, you know, one of the best athletes in this bracket. So we're going to keep that the same. Randy Savage beats Dynamite in the semis to advance to the finals, and Tito Ortiz gets a bye in the semifinals to advance to the finals. There's always a bye, and anytime they do an 8-match tournament like this, you know, a pre-quarterfinal brackets, whatever you want to call it, you know, 16 men, they always do at least one bye. And in this one, they did the bye in the quarterfinals. I want to say it was British Bulldog and Paul Orndorff, maybe, or Paul Orndorff and Ricky Steamboat, or I can't remember, but we're going to keep that the same as well. Only now Junkyard Dog got the bye into the finals in actuality, and this I'm going to have Tito get the bye in the semifinals to go to the finals. All right, so to set up our semifinals, you got Dynamite, Randy Savage, the bye, and Tito Santana winning. I got Dynamite beats the Iron Sheik in the quarterfinal match, you know, the round of 8. Dynamite Kid, again, like we said, made it to the semis anyway. Dynamite Kid and Iron Sheik maybe would have been a good match, you know. Iron Sheik, obviously, and again, at this time he's a former world champion, you know. He should have, if he's a guy that was, you know, a former world champion, why isn't he winning the tournament? You know what I mean? Let's have the Iron Sheik go on. I don't think he got out of the qualifier, the pre-quarterfinal match. I don't think he got out of that in actuality. Here I got him through. So Dynamite beats Iron Sheik in the first quarterfinal. In the second quarterfinal, I have Randy Savage beating Ricky Steamboat. Again, that didn't happen. I don't think that happened in actuality. I think and I forget who Ricky. Like I said, Ricky Steamboat might have had a draw with British Bulldog. I can't remember. Damn it! But Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat again. Now this is Ricky Steamboat is the guy that would take the Intercontinental title from Randy Savage after he held it for almost a year, something like that. So that's so sort of setting the tone, sowing the seeds, you know, for that feud. Maybe Savage could go back to about how he, you know, beat Steamboat in this tournament before he beat Tito to then win the title, and then, you know, then they kind of do, that's maybe how they started their program before WrestleMania 3, you know, that could have been cool. The bye that I have, in my tournament, I got Junkyard Dog and Paul Orndorff meeting in a bye. I want to say it was Ricky Steamboat and British Bulldog wrestled in this tournament, and Bulldog like jumped on the ropes and hurt his groin, I want to say, and that's how Ricky Steamboat got into the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, then that means that would have been maybe it was Ricky Steamboat and Paul Orndorff that got a bye. I can't remember, but in mine, I have Junkyard Dog advances to the quarterfinals. Paul Orndorff advances to the quarterfinals, and they wrestle to like a time limit draw or double count out again, because JYD would go on after here to receive sort of the big push because he was a huge fan favorite, and Paul Orndorff had recently turned face after being a heel for a little while. I want to say, or maybe he's still face at the time before he goes heel. That could be the thing in this again too. I really should be Wikipediaing this, but I'm not. But yeah, let's say our third quarterfinal, Junkyard Dog and Paul Orndorff. And then I have Tito Santana defeats Terry Funk to get into the semifinals. Again, if you have Tito Ortiz and Tito Santana and Terry Funk, both Texas boys, they both went to the same college, I think. They're both from that same area. Tito may have gotten his break and started through the Funks and stuff like that, got his training through them. So, and again, Funk's a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time, so let's let the current Intercontinental title wrestle the former NWA Heavyweight Champion in a quarterfinal match. I'm sure they would have made some magic together. And then Tito does his thing. And now to the pre-quarterfinals, now to move on to that. I have Iron Sheik going over Corporal Kirshner in the first match to make it into his Dynamite Kid match. Again, both of those guys lost in the first round, I want to say, of the Wrestling Classic. But again, let's put Iron Sheik at least through a round just because of the fact that he's a former world champion. They had Adrian Adonis goes over Corporal Kirshner, I want to say, in the original one. And then Dynamite beats Adrian Adonis. Let Iron Sheik go on and have Iron Sheik do his match with Dynamite. I'm sure it would be just as good, and it's maybe a little even more believable. I have Randy Savage beats Ivan Putski to advance into his quarterfinal. That's actually happened in real life, I believe, as well. So I'm not changing anything there. Randy Savage, again, to his run in this tournament, he beats Ivan Putski first, the Musclehead. He beats Ricky Steamboat in a pre-shadowing of WrestleMania 3. He beats Dynamite Kid, arguably the best athlete in the tournament. And then Tito Santana in the finals, your Intercontinental Champion. But Savage goes over Putski here. We're keeping that the same. I have Ricky Steamboat beats Adrian Adonis to move into the Savage match. Again, Adonis wrestled Kirchner. I want to say Steamboat wrestled... I can't remember who Steamboat wrestled. He might have wrestled Putski to begin with. I know there were some weird face versus face matches here. I can't remember. But anyway, let's move on. I have JYD now to move into his quarterfinal matchup. He beats the Bulldog. Let's do that same scenario. You got a weird face versus face match. You got the Bulldog and the Junkyard Dog. It's dog versus dog. You know, they could have done something there. Bulldog does the spot where he gets hung up on the ropes, injures his groin, and then this way you don't got to have the weird outcome of a face pins another face and both guys still kind of stay strong, you know, whatever. I have Paul Orndorff advances in his match against Bob Orton. I want to say that happened in real life too. But that might have been the quarterfinal that goes to the draw. I can't exactly remember. I think Paul Orndorff and Bob Orton did wrestle, and I'm pretty sure that Orndorff wins in their match too, but I can't exactly remember. But again, you have sort of that WrestleMania 1 motif going on. And this is pre-WrestleMania. This has to be pre-WrestleMania 1 because I'm pretty sure it's their first pay-per-view. And if Tito's still the Intercontinental Champion, he wasn't the Intercontinental Champion by the time WrestleMania came around. Greg Valentine was, who beat Tito. And Junkyard Dog would go on to wrestle Valentine at WrestleMania 1 for the Intercontinental title. So this has to be pre-WrestleMania 1. So Orndorff is still a face, and he would be future to team up with Bob Orton. Let's have them wrestle each other here. Again, a little foreshadowing. Orndorff, they were booking strong, so he goes over. And then Tito Santana I have versus Don Morocco in the pre-quarter. I think that happened in real life as well, and that was a long-running feud for those guys. They had a bloody feud over the Intercontinental title, which Tito is holding here. So that's sort of like a rematch, throwback type thing. Let's keep that the same. And then I have Terry Funk wrestling Moondog Spot. That's the same Only in the tournament they had like Moondog Spot winning in 4 seconds or something like that, or there was a count out in 11 seconds. It was one of those like real cheap, quick. Instead of doing a bye or a draw, they did this real quick finish. There's a couple of them like that too. Dynamite beating Nikolai Volkov. I think I skipped that. I have Dynamite beating Nikolai Volkov in the pre-quarterfinal, and that's the same too. That happened in actuality. They did that where Volkov is singing and Dynamite just like drop kicks him and rolls him up, and it's an 8-second match. You know, because they got to move these things along. It's a lot of matches. You know, it's 8, 4 is 12. It's 15 matches. You know, that they got to do on one pay-per-view. So. All right, so essentially, you know, I'll see if I don't know if, I can't switch it now. But again, I got, you know, I'll see if I can show you the bracket. Let's see. It might be backwards, actually. You know, I basically have it. You can pause that. I don't know. It's probably back. I got it. Again, I got my camera flipped and reversed and stuff. I think Tito, again, once again, should have at least made it to the final. He's your Intercontinental Champion. Have Randy Savage beat him, go over in some kind of schmozzy finish or cheat. That sets up your Intercontinental title program. You keep Tito's run to the finals is he beats Don Morocco, his old enemy. And then he beats Terry Funk, a former NWA champion. Then he gets his bye. Dynamite Kid, you still keep going to the semifinals. Again, he was a great athlete. You still get to see Savage versus Steamboat happen a few years ahead of time. You get the dog match with JYD and the British, you know, Junkyard Dog and the British Bulldog. A little foreshadowing with Orndorff and Orton. And then with the Iron Sheik, even in the Corbel Kirshner thing, you got that Iran versus USA type flag match type, you know, motif and stuff too. So there were some different things they could have done. There were some different things they could have done. You know, again, hindsight's always 20/20, and Vince McMahon's made a lot more money promoting wrestling than I have. But there's a couple different things they could have done. Do with it what you will. Take it with a grain of salt, and comment some other ideas if you got them down there, I guess, or whatever. We'll see you next time. Boom. What's up, guys? All right. Just wanted to add a little PS to this video. Had to run outside of the garage from the warmth of my bed all the way out here just to add this PS. Wanted to say that Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat did meet in the quarterfinals. I wasn't sure if that happened in the video or not, but they definitely did, so that was smart booking on them. And I don't know if in their Intercontinental title program, if they even brought up the Wrestling Classic, which was the second ever pay-per-view. It wasn't the first ever pay-per-view. The first obviously being WrestleMania. This happened in November of '85, the Wrestling Classic, versus WrestleMania being, I believe that was March of '85 or April '85. And it was Paul Orndorff did beat Bob Orton Jr. in the qualifier, and Tito Santana did beat Don Morocco in his qualifier, but they just went up against each other into their quarterfinal, which was a double countout finish, which is what caused JYD to move on into the finals, or he didn't have a semifinal match. So I just wanted to reiterate those things I couldn't remember when I was recording before, and now I'm out here, and I wanted to just add those things on because they're important. And I still think everything else is relevant, and look forward to more videos from me coming up in the future with rebooking or more pay-per-views or whatever, more funny stuff, more, you know, music, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. All right? So we'll see you next time.